Hey everyone, welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture. And we are back in the saddle once again for another season. And I have with me cosplayer Fabulously Nerdy. So welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you. It's so nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
You know, I am very excited. I like a bunch of your cosplays, and we're talking about a
Oh,
bunch of them. But before we do
thank
get
you.
into all of that, I am curious how you got into cosplay, because every cosplayer has a unique way of the way they got into cosplay.
For sure. No, thanks for asking that. That's actually like one of my favorite questions of all time to answer. I actually grew up playing. I was like two sides of the wonderful world of being a daughter to my dad, and he was like super duper interested in all things that were nerdy, video games, comic books. And so I actually grew up in a really awesome household where like all the nerdy stuff was super embraced. He was really excited to like good and bad times. He was excited to have two daughters. And so he was really like, he was super excited to kind of just share more like the boy and tomboy aspect of things with my sister and I. And so I actually became super passionate about Spider-Man and Batman. Those were my two top favorite comics. And all of that led into later on enjoying theater and really getting into more of the crafting side of things. Like I actually was a stagehand just because I really wanted to like build stuff and see what I could do woodworking wise. And again, my dad was super stoked, like, hey, here's a power tool. So that was helpful to kind of be nurtured along the way. But ultimately, my truly cosplay journey started in 2018. I was actually diagnosed with Crohn's disease pretty late in my life in 2016. And so I actually needed to find a hobby that was not going crazy at the gym, not blowing my knees out playing soccer, because I just kind of needed to be a little bit more calm and gentler with my body. So I actually took that up. It was a lot of fun. My very, very first convention actually was just a really small local town convention here in Northern California in CampbellCon. And I was lucky enough that my husband, my spouse, was really into to coming along and participating. And so my very first cosplay was Spider-Gwen, very near and dear to my heart. I absolutely adore that comic character. But yeah, my husband actually got into Rick and Morty. And so he has pretty much like, it's funny because they know how to find me at a convention. Like, and we could be a fanime. We're talking, tens of thousands of people, and all they have to do is look for a tall Rick, and they'll know that like, oh, that's your husband. He never deviates. Where I'm like kind of all over the place, League of Legends, Genshin, Spider People, so but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a really awesome run. I have to say that this also it's a great community. It really is. You can find a really like a good group of solid, awesome people who just have a lot of the same commonalities. And again, you can just kind of find really cool people to chat and nerd out like we are today.
Yeah, well, I want a table about your first cosplay, which is Spider-Gwen. And
For
I love
sure.
Spider-Gwen, obviously, for a lot of reasons. I love when Peter kills Gwen Stacy. I love that. I'm actually eyeing it. I'm a big comic book buyer.
Yeah.
I'm eyeing a 9.8 of that book. And
Nice.
it's difficult to find one at a good price,
Right. Yeah.
I'm eyeing it
Legit.
correctly. I could find one all day in like a 4.0 CGC
Oh, for
all
sure.
day with ease. Um,
Easy. Yeah.
but I'm eyeing it. I'm picking my spot.
Nice.
Probably gonna happen relatively soon,
That's
preferably
awesome.
when Microsoft buys Activision. But that's not the point here. That's not the point.
Ah.
Um, I'm making a good exit on that. Anyway, enough about that. I do want to talk a little bit about Inside Baseball with your cosplays before we dive into Spider-Gwen and the whole
Yeah.
Spider-Verse. And we will be talking about Jamie Tyndall because he's made me a lot of money. Um,
Awesome.
he's been on this show. He's great.
No, he's great. Yeah.
So has Dolan from Merc.
Nice.
Yes, good stuff.
Wow.
I love Merc Mac.
That's
Merc and
great.
Jimmy is solid on that one. But anyway, talking about Inside Baseball here. obviously you've done a bunch of cosplays. I've mentioned White Widow. I mentioned Spider-Gwen. You've done Black Widow. You've done Black Cat. A bunch of things. You've done some Starfire. So
Yep.
where do you get your inspirations for your cosplays? Because that is what's interesting about cosplayers, I feel, is what makes them want to do a cosplay and what draws them to a character. And I'm very curious, I guess, your draw of what says, hey, I need to do this character and I need to do this character this way.
Like, yeah, exactly. No, thank you. That's literally a fantastic question. Because I think sometimes that sort of gets lost in almost like the sort of the popularity of different, platforms and fandoms, right now. I think that if you were to go to any convention, you're going to definitely see Spy Family. You're going to see characters from Chainsaw Man. You're going to see characters, pretty much across the board from a lot of different popular things. And it makes sense because it's what's popular. But for me personally, one of the things that I really strive for, that is it's just for me, my own kind of methodology, if you will. And I kind of say that because I actually was a musical theater minor, like actually studied to do it in college. So for me, I like the connection with the characters. I feel like, sure, I could cosplay a really beautiful version of Emma Frost, for example, but I love X-Men, I really do, but in the intertwinings of all the other, I think, fandoms and different universes, I was more into like the 90s animated series or different little pockets of things. And so for me, it's really important that I can draw that connection to a character, but also, to your point, have a way to kind of make it my own too. I think that's also really important. I mean, I love Black Cat, and I have actually done, I think, like 2 or 3 different versions of Black Cat, a symbiote version, a punk rock version, and actually just a regular traditional version of her from the comic book. And I also strive, just me personally, I really strive hard to, if I'm going with the canon look, to really try to keep it quote unquote canon. I'm like my worst biggest critic on any of my builds, including makeup and how I style a wig or how I'm sewing something. Like, did I get it looking right? So that's something else, is how can I also kind of put a different emphasis on it? Black Cat going the punk rock version was so much fun because I actually got to take a denim vest and like sew a bunch of fur to it and paint a bunch of diamonds and bedazzle that puppy and like just random stuff that you're just like, what are you thinking? Like, this character literally would never rock anything like that in the comic book, but it's so much fun to just like bring an alternate version of them to life. So absolutely, I always look for trying to make that connection character wise. And for me, I also, if someone wants to come up and talk about my cosplay, I definitely want to be at least familiar with the character so that I can have a decent conversation too, because I think that's one of the other things I really enjoy about cosplay is getting the chance to meet people and really kind of putting yourself into that immersion of being someone else, which I think all of us day in, day out can relate and like just want to be someone else for a few hours out of the day. So yeah, those are definitely my 3 top points that I look for in a cosplay character.
Yeah, and let's even go even further into this on the opposite side,
Yeah.
that I enjoy, which is the money side of everything. It's a problem. I know, everybody. It's a problem. I love every aspect of money.
Sure.
Every aspect of it. I can't wait till my business really produces a lot of money. It does right now, but that's not the point. I'm gonna go to the bank, and the scene in Deadpool when he takes the 2 guns and he sniffs it. I'm gonna do that with 2 50s every Friday. I'm just gonna take out 2 fresh 50s, and I'm gonna be like, no, I want the fresh 50s. I know they were just brought in. I'm gonna roll them up. I'm gonna just sniff them. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be the best TikTok. It's gonna be like the #1 GIF. I guarantee you.
I love it.
It'll be mine, and everybody can use it. I do not expect a royalty. I am not Mr. Wonderful. That's Kevin O'Leary. That's
right.
thing. That's not my thing. You guys could have that gift when I do it. But enough about the joke. What is that like for you? Because a little known secret in cosplay is that it can be expensive.
Oh, yeah.
between fabrics, between certain materials, between certain props, time, if you count time as an asset, to do something. Wigs can be expensive. Warblock can be expensive. Foam can be expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Other things. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
million other things I could say.
Yeah.
That, and also, even going further into that, also balancing those costs and also
Yes.
finding substitutes, because
Mhm.
if fabric A is $50 and fabric B is 25, figuring out how to even manage that, because
Yes.
that, I think, is one of the biggest issues in cosplay right now, is that
Mhm.
how do you figure out how to do your cosplay cheaper? Because
That's it. Yeah.
it's expensive.
Definitely. Absolutely. You also hit on something that I think is really important too, right? Like, I don't mind if I'm sort of that perfectionist, elitist with myself in my own cosplays, right? Especially if I'm entering, which most recently started getting into competitions, because I've kind of taken my sewing to the next level primarily for that reason, which is cost. My husband and I have, we've got some dreams, we've got some goals that we're trying to accomplish and manifest this year. And one of those requires, a little bit of budgeting and saving money. So absolutely, costs it's just one of the things that's inherent, I think, for any hobby. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. It kind of comes with the territory. But I think one of the cool things about this community is you will find a lot of people who are super into like closet cosplays, taking whatever you can find and just like making it work, or finding what we call sort of a variant of a character, or even turning it into a casual look. And I think that's lovely. I think that is absolutely wonderful, because for me, it doesn't matter if you are in, a full foam muscle suit on stilts, rocking as the Hulk, or if you're just in a t-shirt and, some cool purple shorts, and that's your cosplay because that's your cosplay to you. Who am I to tell you that it's not cosplay? First of all.
It raises a question. So I've
Yeah.
never built a cosplay, but I bought a cosplay,
Yes.
and it was tailored to me. I had no desire to enter into a cosplay contest. I was doing a Gundam panel, and I was Amuro Ray from Gundam.
Wow.
It made sense for me, because
Yep.
here I am talking about it, and I had a blast at a con, but I had no desire to do it. And for me, it was not about competition. It was to do that character, and
Yep.
I was thrilled, and it was tailored to me. It fit on my body well, and
Yes.
but it also
Yeah.
was $120,
For sure.
tailored to me and handled, versus me building it would have taken me way more time, been way more expensive,
Mhm.
and the result might have been the same. I mean, technically, it might have been
Yeah.
better, might have been worse, but I wasn't looking to,
That's not your intent.
like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to have a
Exactly.
good time. I just wanted to have a good time. And I think that's
Right.
one of the biggest things with cosplay right now that I find, is that
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have forgotten that it's supposed to be fun.
It's fun.
Most. And
Yes.
I think, this is my biggest criticism of it, is that
Yep.
it has become very monetized very easily.
Yes.
And there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with that, but that also has challenged the fun aspect of it, where now all of a sudden you have 50,000 people and followers on Instagram. You're now a public figure.
Yep.
Versus, fun. And I'm not saying don't make
Exactly.
money doing what you want to do, and you can make money from something, but that's a tough balance.
Right. Right. And I think you actually hit on a perfect, like, kind of segue into my next point. Really was, it's about the why. You really have to know the why you're wanting to do it. Is it that, to your point, you're just looking for something to do for fun, right? And that could be anybody. Heck, it could even be, I have a coworker of mine, mind you, a huge corporate networking giant. We probably create the network we're on right now, but he got into cosplay solely from the fact of enjoying dressing up at Halloween with his kids. Then conventions came to town, and he was like, I've always been Marvel DC fan, like, and it just exploded from there. But it gradually, baby steps for him. I think everybody, you just have to find your own why, and then the path sort of opens for you. I completely agree. There can be a lot of toxic, negative things in this community saying, well, you purchased your cosplay, that's not really cosplay. Again, who is anybody to judge anybody else? Whether you purchase it, you make it, you craft it, you buy it, it doesn't matter. You find it in your closet, you find it at Goodwill thrifting. I think all of that, you are there building something that's it's a creation of the character, you
It
know?
gets even trickier. So obviously I'm a male. I don't know.
I was going to say,
It's
guys are
hard to
very
tell.
difficult
But
but just in general, it's hard to like buy clothes anyways, right? But then
I was about to make a different point completely.
Okay.
My point was that
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I have friends. I have a business partner that I ran a Kickstarter, DJ Croft, and DJ's fit.
Yep.
And I also have interviewed Xavier Claude, and he's got a six pack and he looks it. So when he's like Aquaman, he looks like Aquaman, right?
Yeah.
And it's great. And when he's Hawkman, he looks like Hawkman. And you know, it's funny because he's walking around shirtless and he looks like that, but it goes to the point where if you're wearing a six-pack ab shirt and you're Superman and you don't have a six-pack, like, you know, there's that in there too, where I'm a big supporter of that. If you want to cosplay and however you look, you should be able to do it. Yes. You know, but that's on that I was going to go with. And that was my point that I was going to make is that it's very interesting because I think when you look at purists and I think when you look at even making it or even body types, I mean, I know plenty of people who, no matter what they, you know, your body type is your body type, you know, and just because, you know, DJ and Xavier Claude have six packs, you know, six packs are not in my genetics.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. I totally feel you.
That's the whole point. Even though I'm a male, me having a six pack is probably not going to happen. But if I want to be Superman, I still want to be Superman.
Exactly. And that's why I say like finding your why, right? Because I think for me, you know, yes, I have friends who do it for the monetization aspect, and I think that's fantastic. If it works for them and they have the time and the energy, I mean, Lord, I'm old as dirt, and that's the other reason why I put this off. I mean, you know, it was kind of like, hey, I now have extra disposable income. You know, my husband and I moved to a new area too. So we were kind of looking for things to like do, get to know new people and new friends in an area we never really had lived before. And so it worked. It clicked, right? But like, don't get me wrong. My first Spider-Gwen suit was so bougie. It was straight off Amazon, you know, like I didn't know about forearm zippers. I didn't know about like the soles on the kung fu shoes on the bottom of the feet. So that's the other thing that's so beautiful, I think, about this hobby or this craft too, is that, you know, you learn as you go and you can learn from other people. You know, you go to a con and there's probably 25 different panels you can attend. A good more than 50% of them are probably going to be about cosplaying and how to, you know, balance a budget. That was one of the first things I started to do when I got into it. I'm with you. Zentai suits are expensive. There's no way around it. And I would love to be able to print my own fabric and, you know, customize bodysuits to myself, because I will be honest as well, I would be considered more on the plus size. I'm a size 14, like in jeans, 12, 14. That's definitely not your typical size 6, you know, size 8. So even for me, I have had to actually tailor things. Thankfully, my mom gifted me with the ability to sew, and she taught me how. And growing up in the theater, I was able to kind of develop that skill, which was why I think it was easy for me to kind of make that leap into cosplay. But you're right. I also waited until I was later in life to have that extra money to just be able to, you know, throw $150 for 2 passes for a weekend convention that I understand not everybody else can do. So that's the other reason why I push the little local cons. You can have just as much fun as a con at your library than you can. That's a huge one with, you know, the whole cast of My Hero Academia or whatever. So
I got a solution for everybody.
Yes.
This is my solution. I'm a broke college kid, 18, 19, wanted to go to cons, figured out that if I do a bunch of panels, I get a free pass.
Yes.
So that's how I did 50 plus panels at cons in a very short amount of time, where I was doing 12 to 15 of them a year.
That's
And
awesome.
it's crazy, but I haven't done one since because I find that it's not, people don't attend my panels. and then
Gotcha.
I mean, it depends on the topic. When I talk about
Yeah.
Attack on Titan, or I talk about other things,
Hot
you know,
button.
people, or I talk about the Godfather of anime, or I talk about Gundam, people
Yeah.
show up.
Yeah.
But when I talk about, some other stuff like modern directors who are not Miyazaki, actually, that
Mm.
panel does really well too, because that's a fun panel.
I was gonna say that actually sounds fun. I'd go to that one.
But when I talk about it, like comic book investing and stuff, nobody shows up. But
Sure.
my favorite panel to do, but I can only do it like in December, is Christmas in anime. It's an
Ooh,
awesome panel. And it's
that's
such a fun
awesome.
panel because I go through the history of Christmas in Japan, and then we go through like 4 or 5 Christmas animes that you can watch with your family.
That is super cool. Oh my
It's a
gosh, I have to check that
great,
out.
great panel.
That's
And
awesome.
I love it because it's a fun panel and it's very family oriented. And there was a con in December when I used to live in DC, and it was just epic because it was like
Oh,
December 12th. And I'm like, this is perfect. Who doesn't want to do a Christmas panel? And
exactly.
great. It's great. It's great. It was great. I showed the KFC Christmas commercials in Japan. It was
Yes.
it was great. It was so good. And everybody's like, oh my God. Like the entire audience, there's maybe like 25 people in the audience out of like 40 seats. And it was a hopping panel.
That is so awesome. Oh my gosh. Yes, isn't that such a trip when you can like blow people's minds about like just like the hype around KFC at Christmas? I love it.
It was almost as cool as when I sold out the Javits Center in a panel.
Wow.
250 plus people.
Holy cow. That's epic.
I could have
Whoa.
dropped
What?
a pin. I could have dropped a pin and it would have been heard. And the room was dead silent for 45 minutes.
Wow. What panel was that one for?
It was exploring dystopia through Attack on Titan, The Walking Dead, and Fahrenheit 451.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going with that. I was an English major, so did my fair share of reading. So yeah. Wow. That's deep, man.
250 plus people in that
Uh,
room.
uh,
And it's the weirdest thing. I did the panel before that panel. And what happened is that I did a Gundam panel. I had 60 people in that room. And what I said to everybody in the room, I said, you're not going to want to leave, because if you left, you would not have been able to come in, because I go to the guy, one of the people at Anime NYC, who was like monitoring the door. And what wound up happening is that I said, yo, what's going on out there? He's like, dude, you got a full room. You got a full
oh,
room. And like everybody who was in that panel, about 90% of them stayed. And they
wow.
moved up and said, yeah, I guess we're going to stay. And I said, this is the hottest panel right now. There's 2 other panels going on, and they were pretty packed too, but it was exciting. It was a crazy, crazy, crazy panel. And people,
Wow.
it was wild, but weird thing. And then it was good.
That's
My friend called me
insane.
and asked me to come back from New York City because I lived in Yorktown in New York,
Okay. Yep.
miles away. So I was only in Anime NYC for the day. And my friend's like, yo, you want to go to the bar as I'm going? I said, cool. Can you give me like 30 minutes when I get home? He's like, yeah. Showered, went to the bar, and it was a great night there too. So
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's so absolutely epic. See, and like I feel like those kinds of like if you weren't into comics and you weren't into all of this awesome nerdy stuff, like you would never have that kind of experience, you know? That's great.
I had a blast. I had a blast. It was amazing, and yeah, it was just one of those things. And
That's
but now I'm
cool.
a podcaster, and I get to do all this from my
Yeah.
house now, so it's awesome.
Right?
I digress. This is such a far cry from cosplay. Such a far cry. Because I do want to talk about the Marvel stuff with you, and I
Oh,
really want
for sure.
to do it. And obviously, we're going to talk about Spider Gwen,
Yeah.
and I have pictures because pictures are
Yay.
fun.
Oh,
So
yes.
that's Gwen Stacy. Spoiler alert, guys. Sorry to let everybody ruin this, but Gwen Stacy is Spider Gwen. Spider Gwen is Gwen Stacy. If you didn't know by now, I don't know what to say.
Now you know, knowing's half the battle.
Oh my God, my John Cena GI Joe shirt. He just did one. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's got like it's got all of his different variants on it, from the prototype to Ambassador John Cena, and it's like pick your character, and then it has his GI Joe card, and it has his like ranking. It's 16T for 16-time champ. It's a T16 for his 16-time champ. Oh, it's brilliant.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's awesome.
It's a $35 WWE t-shirt, and it's well worth every penny.
Every penny.
Every penny.
That's amazing.
But enough about John Cena. I mean, you can't see me, guys. But what's the story behind this? Because this is Gwen Stacy.
Yes.
Spider-Gwen, and what is that like? Because it's kind of fun, I think, to do, I guess, the non-superhero side of the character. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I really enjoy doing a lot of different, again, kind of going back to like variants, right? Like, oh, let me take a character and just do like them in street clothes. And like no one has any idea who the heck you are. Super random. Usually you don't get really recognized at conventions unless it's like perhaps maybe Gwen Stacy would if like, you know, Marvel fandom kind of thing happens. But for me, I really enjoyed that moment in comic history, because kind of going back to me truly being a comic nerd first and foremost, I thought that, and I kind of read, and I even hosted a virtual panel on this, that was really the turning point and the killing age of the silver era of comic books, right? That was the first time where the hero didn't save the girl. That was the first time where the hero actually ended up having, you know, massive heartbreak and massive loss. And I think that was that tipping point from moving from that golden age and era where everything's wonderful at the end, you know, everything's hunky-dory. We all walk away to, off to like a perfect fairy tale ending. And then Spider-Man comes along and Stan Lee's like, no, we're going to not have that happen. Like, we're going to literally show this guy's going to lose his uncle who was, you know, his father figure. He's going to have massive loss with the people around him. But, you know, at the end of the day, he'll get a little break. He'll get a redhead that, you know, will make it all better. But also Stan's decision to like ditch that blonde bombshell, right, sort of stereotypical character, to actually pivot over to MJ, right, the redhead. I thought that was also really interesting, and I thought that was a really something like that had never been done either. So for me, being Gwen Stacy is really like, it was really to pay homage kind of to that, in that I really appreciated Stan Lee's kind of just like, you know, F it, we're going to do something totally different. We're going left when everybody else is going right. And the ingenuity, the you know, the PC of everything behind it, from the perfect characters, the perfect story, literally to the perfect, like, quote unquote ending, however you want to look at it, depending on what universe, or 615, whatever. It was just, I love that it was kind of never ending as well. So for me, that's the reason why I happen to pick Gwen Stacy. I love her to pieces for all of those reasons. And she was also just super nerd into science. I won all the science fairs in my high school, so I was kind of like relatable. And from the comic, I think from the comic perspective, you know, as her being Spider-Gwen, that was also something really interesting, because she was always really close with her dad. And I didn't grow up that way. I think eventually over time, my dad's and my relationship evolved. And yes, that was my punk rock version. But like, she's just a badass. She really is. I mean,
another version.
Yes, my classic version. So I've never really been into the version of her being the ballerina, right? I think that was kind of like, yeah, no, that was Sony's spin on it. I'm like, no, she's a badass rocker. She plays the drums. She's in the Mary Janes. You know, she's a loner. She's kind of like given up on trying to be friends, because every friend around her, she either has to end up trying to save or they die. So it's just, to see that same parallel, but with a female character that Spider-Man walked, I was just like, sold. Introvert, wanting to be alone, all of that was like me to a T growing up, and somewhat to an extent is still me. Takes a lot to kind of get me out of my shell. So
And then obviously, I mean, I just showed obviously the punk rock version of Spider-Gwen, the regular version of Spider-Gwen. I believe this is the venomized version of
yes.
Spider-Gwen that you've done. And I think this is another version, I think.
Yes, that's actually I'd finally gotten my face shell with my lenses for that one, so I was like super excited. And one of my friends did a really cool kind of edit with the pictures that he had taken at Carrier Con up in Oakland. So yeah, I have like 4 altogether.
So what is this like? Because when you get to do obviously the base character or the civilian character, it's a good way to put it. And then you get to do this superhero. It's fun. And then you get to do those variants. Because I'm a comic guy. I'm a big comic collector. And so there's the regular cover A. Maybe you have a cover B that's regular. But then you get those store exclusives. Or you get J. Scott Campbell doing something fun. Or you get John Romita Jr. or Marcos Martin doing something, which he did this 692 covers. And one of them is Peter holding Gwen. And I have that book. I sold that book.
Awesome.
I sold that book to start my business, and then I bought it back when my business was healthy.
Okay, so it's still in your collection. Good. Okay.
I bought a better version of it back for a lot more money.
It's all right. But a better version.
I bought a 9.8 along with a few other books for my personal collection.
Wow.
So I sold that book for $100, and then I bought it back for a lot more. Don't regret it. Don't regret it one damn bit, because I started my business because of this, and definitely a cool book. But
awesome.
I love him holding Gwen. And there was a few other books in that collection that I bought it that I don't care about.
Yeah,
but I have $300 to buy that book back. Well worth it.
Totally.
It's a great set. It's Spider-Man Through the Decades.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 50 decades where each color is a year. It's really cool.
I love it. I think it's so great. That's why when the actual comics came out, right, the different decades of the 50s, 60s, 70s, I was like on that one at my local comic shop, literally like, hey, here's my credit card in advance. Just put it on hold. Just ring them all up. I'll be back. Like the originals and the variants, you name it. I'm all over it. So, but yeah, no, it's definitely fun because you get to channel different, like, I think different characteristics of each person or each character, right? I mean, when I am Spider-Gwen, it's fun. I love it. Usually because I will have my face mask on, my face shell, and my lenses, because I really do enjoy kind of playing more of the hidden version of her. Yes, for a lot of the photo shoots, I will take it off, just because I am, I'm paying for those pictures, so I do kind of want them to be what I'm envisioning. So some on, some off, that kind of thing. But I think it's a lot of fun because, at least for me, it was kind of like how, being in like a tunnel too. I think setting is really cool and super helpful when you're also setting up like shots. Don't get me wrong, when it's cold outside, like -2, and you're in like a bodysuit, I don't recommend. Go just hang a curtain and take a picture in front of it, like call it a day. I'm also very lazy, as you can tell.
I just had Chief Geek Photography on a little while ago, and he's great. He's great.
Yes.
Fascinating interview. We didn't really speak much about his cosplay. We spoke about a lot of the photography side.
Yes.
I don't get the ability to speak to male cosplayers, let alone male photographers.
Oh, okay.
And so it was a very interesting interview. It was a good interview.
Yeah.
He's gotten me a few male cosplayers who was scheduling stuff up, because they're the hardest group to book. They're the hardest group to book on my show. I don't understand why. They're the hardest group to book. I used to be in a little group, a Spidey group here up in Northern California, and yes, I have to agree, trying to get people like locked in who are the guys, it was a little difficult. Men are the most fussy cosplayers ever.
I just thought, well, I took about half hour trying to fix my friend's belt for sure. But I was like, I'm the cosplayer mom. So I carry like, extra glue and duct tape and safety pins. And, someone's like, oh, I lost an eyelash. I'm like, here you go. Here's a whole new set. Yeah, I'm that person too. And so it was funny because not only did they take longer than the gals to get changed, right? And again, not a whole lot. You throw on your Zentai suit with a spider person, maybe a wig, your mask, call it a day. No, it took them about an hour. And so, like, all of us women and girls, females and presenting females, we're looking at each other like, are we missing something here? What are we missing?
It's not even that for me. What it is that I reach out. If I reach out to 20 men, I will get a response from 3.
Wow, really?
So it is a very low response rate. If I reach out to 20 women, I will get a response rate of 8 to 10.
Wow.
So the difference is that a 5 or a 7 plus. And when you times that by laws of large numbers, so if I reach out to 10, if I reach out to 100 cosplayers collectively or 100 males, and I am only getting a 3% rate of return, that's not good. If I reach out to 100 male cosplayers, I will get 10 of them on my show.
Gotcha.
Statistically, which is a 10% rate of return. If I reach out to 100 female cosplayers, I will get at least a 40 to 50% rate of return. And I don't understand why men are so flaky. Now, the opposite is true in the wrestling world.
Okay.
We tend to be more flaky in the wrestling world, from my experience, where they're the ones who don't show up.
Interesting.
So men will always show up on a wrestling show.
Yeah.
There's something wrong. Male wrestlers are always on time before. Women are, right 5 minutes before they come on, or they're sometimes 5 minutes late, or they just don't show up and they don't answer.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
It's so weird about the cosplays with men, because it is the hardest group to book, and I don't understand why. I don't know about getting ready. I mean, because DJ I know is professional. I know Xavier Claude is professional. There's another guy, Billy something. I know he's professional. There's a few other men that I know are very, very, very professional, but I haven't heard that statement. But what Chief Geek Photography was saying is that when it's cold out, he's like, I parked my car near. I stay. I have a blanket. I make sure if I'm not shooting, I'm in my car, staying warm. And I just thought it was really funny because he's like, and also I'm gonna get this shot and we're gonna get done.
Be done. Yep. Absolutely. No, I've definitely worked with quite a few photographers that are like that. And I absolutely I love that about them, where they're just like, all right, we'll talk maybe beforehand, kind of like, what's the vision, or, what character are you thinking? Just so if they're scouting locations, they can do that ahead of time. But a lot of times I'll say, when I reach out to people, I'll say like, this is the character, this is my fandom, here are some reference pictures if you're not really familiar with that particular character. But I've also thought about location A, B, C, D. And I think it could be because so my job is project management. So I think about everything and nothing all at once. And I also plan for like the worst of all possibilities. And then I just kind of hope for the best. So I think a lot of that bleeds over to my cosplay and like coordination with that. So meetups, photography sessions, I always come prepared and I always have at least an idea so that I can pitch it to people. And if they're like, oh no, I was thinking about this instead, then at least we have a starting point, right? It's at least a jumping off point so that I'm not like, great, I'm going to hire you for your services, but you're going to take it all. Like you get to do everything. Just like I think having some sort of an idea of like how to pose is really helpful because like my first few photo shoots that thankfully were just with very close friends were incredibly awkward, mostly because it's just like if you've never taken pictures or you've never really thought about photography, there's a lot there's, and to your point, you know, chatting with such a great photographer and cosplayer. That's why I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure the entire conversation was about photography. There's so many tips and tricks and little, you know, best practices, or try this. And it's like,
spoke a lot about shooting with the camera, I want to make that crystal clear.
Yes, yes. Oh, yes, yes. Cameras, photographies, yes. So videos, okay. But then you also have video on top of that. And thankfully, I've not had to work with, I haven't really worked with, I think, photographers who are super in the video space, thankfully. Because I just have really bad dad jokes. Like, yes, I'm on TikTok with the same user handle. But it's really bad because it's just, I find things funny that just aren't funny. All right. So that's why I'm glad and grateful that I've had an opportunity to work with at least, you know, other coordinated folks, but their feedback has always been, we really enjoy working with you because you just like come prepared, and you also bring stuff. And I always bring my husband. So interestingly enough, if you think about it, photographers have a lot of gear and they have a lot of expensive gear. Sometimes you end up in, I don't know, overpasses of freeways, for example. Sometimes not the greatest areas, right? And so, but they want to be able to have that freedom to set their gear down and then go roam around and go walk with you and come over here, let's take this shot, or, you know, let's get back to the car and go get warm, kind of thing. So it's nice to also have extra people with you, because I'm like, he's the muscle. Again, he's giant. He's like 6 feet tall. Huge Rick. Again, you can't miss me. But it's also, they really appreciate that because they can just like chuck their backpack or chuck their lights, you know, grab them when they need them. And they know that someone's around, like always watching and having their back too. So yes, I definitely recommend making friends and connections with photographers. They are your friends. If you've never gone to cons before, you know, one of the other things I never experienced was people coming up to you and saying, can I take your picture? And it could be, you know, it can run the gamut. It can be a little kid who just thinks, you know, I'm the most gorgeous seraphim they've ever seen, and I adore them for it. And absolutely, like, I will crawl on hands and knees just for the children only. Do whatever you want. Like, you want a piggyback ride? Let's go, because the kids' smiles are like amazing, right? There's that. But I wish someone would have told me, like, hey, there's gonna be like professional people too with like huge cameras and huge lenses, and you know, they're gonna be like, I want to take your picture, and they want to take like 2 to 3, maybe 5 minutes of your time, kind of thing. But like, they will sequester you. They will pull you away.
It's a very complicated issue, I think, right now, where going back to some of the bigger names, I mean, yes. I think a lot of the bigger names, and I think it's coming, is that they are out of touch with some of their fan base.
For sure.
I think, you know what it is, I'm very in touch in my business with the fan base at a very ground level, where the company that I buy directly from, they know me by name. I know them by name, and I know half their audience by name. So I know their fan base, where I've sold to people and then they've showed off the book on Facebook. I'm like, you run this group? What the hell?
Yes.
We connected on Facebook. I'm like, yo, I just sold you this. Like, why didn't you say you were in the group, man? Like, it's funny. It's funny, but like, I think a lot of these cosplayers, they get sequestered at cons. They're in their booth, and then they go on a photo shoot for 2-3 hours. And I think that it's a real issue, because I think they have forgotten what their fan base is. And I think they're making money, and I think it's a real issue. And I think it's going to come back and haunt them. I really do.
I agree. I have to say, I'm really good friends with Walden Wong, the amazing inker who works on all things Marvel and DC. He's done 2 really amazingly commissioned blank comics for me. I actually get to pick one up in about a month. So I'm really excited. I'm super excited to go grab that. But it was something that he had actually kind of talked to me about, you know, and he was like, hey, you've got this, you know, it was about 2019, 2020, started getting this great following, got a good ramp, started attending even virtual Comic-Cons, you know, running panels, talking about different historical things in the comic book world. And it was great, you know, had a lot of engagement. And then, you know, there's a little bit of a shift sometimes where you got to take care of like personal things, or for instance, my health started to like wane. And so all the time that I was going through this, I still kind of had his voice in the back of my head saying like, you know, you should get a table, you should park yourself here, you should get photos and prints and sign stuff and do all this stuff. And for me, the more that I thought about it, the more stress it gave me personally, and it kicked up my anxiety through the roof. And I did exactly that. I thought about my why. I thought about, why did I actually start cosplaying? Was it something to monetize? No, it wasn't. And it doesn't, you know, if it is for someone else, that's a-okay. Everybody is their own person. But for me, I don't want to lose the love and passion of comics.
It's interesting,
you know,
you bring that up, because I don't know if I can do this voice acting, but if I wanted to pursue it, I think that if I wanted to go and become a voice actor and I really devoted to it, I think I might stand a fair chance. Maybe.
I agree.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think it would be awesome.
But my point is that I like watching anime. And so I've come to the conclusion saying, I don't want to go to Texas, New York, or LA, live there. And it's not that I don't want to live in Texas or LA. That's not the problem. I'd rather live in Texas with the way LA is going. It's way too expensive, and California's gone downhill. No offense.
No, it's okay. It has. Trust me.
I mean, they need to fix California.
Yeah.
But not the point. Not the point. My whole thing is that I don't want, it would ruin anime for me. It would ruin an escape.
That's it.
So,
yep.
So when I want to go and I want to write a comic book and I'm in the process of doing that, doesn't ruin comics for me. Doesn't ruin my business, because there's all these people that I'm already ruined by comics by interviewing all these people. So it's already ruined for me. And it's not that bad, where 25 to 30% of comics are ruined for me. But if I write it, it doesn't get worse. But if I was to become a voice actor, it would ruin anime for me completely, because that's pure still. And that's what I understand.
And I think that's huge. The fact that you like realize that is enormous, right? I mean, just that own cognizance in its own like state is awesome, because you know what your balance is, right? You know where that scale is going to eventually tip. And I will tell you that I wasn't huge or anything like that. I mean, I don't have a super large following, you know, over like 2.2K. That's about it. And my TikTok's slowly growing again. Horrible dad humor. Plus, I'm also in the K-pop space, so I get a lot of hate. So I totally understand about hate. Again, over 40. I love cosplay. I love comics and K-pop. Okay. And I don't have kids. And people are like, what's wrong with you? No, I'm just me. I'm just a dork. But no, like seriously, I agree with you. There can be that point where when it becomes to be not fun, or it changes how you actually feel about your escape and using it to really give you that hobby, that's where I have to draw the line, right? And there have been times where I've taken a step back. I mean, I'm getting ready to do a little bit soon after this con season ends, kind of October, November. You know, we're going to see what happens. And it's because life is happening for me. Right. My current lease is up. My husband and I want to buy a house. We're looking to buy a house. Like for once, it's sad that it took us this long in California, but we're like, woo, we're over 40. We're going to buy a house. Let's do it. You know, but you're right. It is a balancing act. I think, again, it just kind of goes back to your intent, your purpose, what makes it fun for you, what doesn't make it fun. Everybody has their own agenda. And I think that is why it's so imperative in our communities to don't compare yourself to anybody else. Like
That's hard.
I know it's super hard. Like, don't get me wrong. I look at so like Stella too, Yaya Han, you know, Kenpatsu cosplay, like all of these. First off, gorge, like drop dead gorgeous. Hi, you could be on a freaking runway model.
It's
Okay,
funny that you mentioned them, because this is the part that nobody talks about. This is the controversial part. I don't know if any of those people are really happy. I don't know if they're happy. I don't
that's
know if
it.
Jessica Nigeria's happy. I don't know if Yanahan's happy. I don't know if
Yeah,
that other person's happy. And you know what? You could say, oh, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm thrilled. But you know what it is? I don't know if they're happy. I'm genuinely happy in my
that's
business.
it. Right.
And I'm genuinely happy. And for those who don't know, I buy and sell comics, and then I take my profits. It is a self-close funded business, meaning it cash flows itself every single month. So I don't have to put any money in it ever if I want to maintain it at this point, and I get to take a distribution. But I'm pumping in a lot of money right now because I'm trying to take it from 30,000 in sales to 60 in the next 12 months, stabilize it, pull out a bigger distribution. And then in 2 years from now, I'm going to regrow it again from 60 to 120. And then just I'm doing that every 3 years. So by the time I'm 40, 45, I'm going to have a very lucrative business and a lot of fun, a lot of fun stuff. But and then I take a distribution and invest the rest into the stock.
Okay, good. Yeah.
But I'm genuinely happy running my business. I get a thrill from running my business. So, I'm genuinely happy, but that's what I think is so interesting, because there's a whole issue when you're creating content. I need to now create more content because I need to maintain the views, and you get into a content trap, and you look at it and look at these people and how they are doing collabs, how they're hiding their Instagram numbers. Why do you think they're hiding their Instagram numbers? Because something didn't connect. I guarantee you, Hot Topic, people don't know this, Hot Topic shied away from all these big influencers and is now working with people who have 10, 15,000 followers on Instagram because it's a higher percentage at a cheaper rate. So they would rather work with somebody who has 15,000 followers because they're getting like a 12% engagement rate versus somebody like Jessica Nigeri, who has a 3% engagement rate. While it's a higher number and it's a larger number, it's a lower engagement rate, which means that, what is it, the CPM, I want to say, is actually less cost effective.
Right.
I know nothing about marketing, by the way. I am not a marketer. I am a political science major. I just understand the money side of all of this.
No, that's fantastic. So actually, I have a real estate background from being obviously here in California, but I actually am I'm currently a marketing project manager. So yes, I was just talking about different campaigns and this and that, and how to convert more of those leads into actual opportunities to close on. About numbers, it is all about the analytics, and it's all about the data insights. Like, I can't tell you how important those pieces of information are. Not to mention, like, just don't, again, going back to the whole comparison, like, don't compare yourself with another content creator. I know it's super hard to do, but again, I think you hit the nail on the head where we're not always exposed to everybody's behind the scenes, right? We get, like, on TikTok, a 15-second or a 30-second video, you swipe and scroll to the next one. Same thing if you're on Instagram with Reels. Maybe it's a minute here and there. But at the end of the day, what we aren't seeing, right, is possibly the tiredness, the fatigue, the exhaustion factor, the burnout, right? Having to set everything up, having to, like, take everything back down, having to, like, even create the content and come up with the ideas, right? I think that if you're not constantly on a con circuit and doing a lot of, promoting of yourself, that's very hard. I think it's easy to get, like what you said, caught in that content trap. I've been there myself. And it wasn't until I was like, hey, I can just break outside of the Spider-Verse. Like, finally, let's, like, expand, right? You don't always just have to keep in Spider-Verse. Now, again, it's scary. I think when you're trying to do new things, not every single thing is going to be viral. Not every single thing is going to be a hit. But at the end of the day, you also have to look at some of these huge people.
99.9% of my content is not viral.
Oh,
what happens to me is that I play the long game. So what people, I was dunked on. We were speaking about this before, and I'll bring it up. I was dunked on for 43 minutes. They said, oh, it only has 1 view or 2 views on its live streams. And my response to those people who were dunking on me, and if they see this, it's the response saying, yeah, but I have interviews that did 2 views and I've gotten 9,000 plays later on, 2 years later. So I don't care about the live. That's not what makes the money. What makes the money is the replayability, me cutting up that content. I just did a short clip with Lisa Ortiz for an interview that I did almost 2 years ago that got like 300 plays in about 24 hours. So I don't really care. That interview, I think, has like 900 plays too right now. So I don't really care what this content does live. I mean, I wanted to do well live, but I wanted to do well overall in the next year, the next 2 years, the next 10 years. And that's how I view content, is that I'm not looking for a one-hit wonder. I'm looking at, somebody comes to my YouTube channel, they see 600 plus interviews, they see, 1,500 short clips, and then they see another, 500 YouTube shorts, and they're like, oh snap, there's a lot of content here. Maybe I don't want to watch Peacock. Maybe I want to hang out on this channel for a while. Because I'm building a library. And then it's not a content trap, because it's the idea. It's quite, I think, the opposite. I'm building a library, and I understand in the long term, because I'm going to be doing this for the next 40 years. So it doesn't matter what it does today.
Nice. No, and I think that's the right attitude to have. That's the absolute perfect view, right? I mean, I think that that's how you're probably going to, I honestly also think that you will grow probably more organically as well that way, because people will see that. They won't see, I always think there's 2 sides to every coin. I think statistics is, very, very, you can always spin things one way or a different way. But I think that if you were to take at least the positive spin out of it, you can also see that there's a connection that you're making with people, right? And that you're not just trying to get big names to get big names, or you're not just trying to talk to certain people just to talk to certain people because they're popular now, right? Or that they are viral for one of their videos, or they're in the quote unquote limelight for whatever it is in the moment. And so I appreciate that. And that is something that I look for when I go and seek out other content creators too, where's their heart? If this is just for a buck or whatever, or to promote something else on a different platform for themselves that monetizes it, if I like the content, I'm going to like the content, but I may not engage with it as much, right? Whereas you're definitely setting yourself up for further engagement, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, and I'm lucky because I know how to spot talent. I spotted a lot of talent before it became big.
That's awesome.
A lot of talent. There's been people in WWE who have been on my show before they were anywhere near there. There's people who are in AEW have been on my show way before they were anywhere there. Tegan Knox was Nixon Noel before. She's a WWE superstar.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah, on your channel. Daniels. Yeah, I was super impressed.
Chris Daniels, head of AEW Talent and Relations, was on my other show. Just shot him a message, shot his agent a message, was very pleasant about it. His agent was like, yeah, cool. Let me shoot a message. Let's see what we can do. Chris Daniels is just a decent human being. I probably could have the Young Bucks on, but I didn't want to overburden my parents in trying to help me set that up. It's a very funny story, but it's a different story for a different day. But very, very interesting. Who's been on my show, who has been on my show, and Anthony Green's been on, who was in WWE, and so on and so forth. So it's fascinating. But again, I'm called a lot of things that are really interesting. And but again, I'm looking long term, not short term. But we are so far from cosplay. I do want to touch upon this because I think this is funny.
Oh, this is Red Cat. Yes. So I am a huge fan of J. Scott Campbell. I love that guy's artwork because I think it really embraces more of the just kind of brings out the campiness that's in Spider-Man inherently in the comics. I mean, if you know, you know. I mean, come on, even the movies, right? I mean, Tobey Maguire busting out the dance, that's Spider-Man. That's why I love it, right? So for Red Cat, I thought it was awesome that J. Scott Campbell came up with that variant, which was one of the variant covers to the 2019 Black Cat series, where she started her own run and about, you know, her horrible, corrupt father and how she became a jewel thief herself. I fell in love with that. And I was just like, I love MJ as much as I love Gwen Stacy. I am torn. Trust
So
me.
I have to ask now, what is the best MJ cover?
I was gonna say, I think it's probably Red Cat. I'm gonna go with Red Cat just because it's so different. It is.
So you're not a 601 fan?
Okay, so I do appreciate it. I like it. I love it. There was just something about MJ kind of slapping Felicia in the face with that cover and that particular, like, even to the outfit, that was just kind of like, I'm sorry, what? Felicia? Who? You know? Like, sorry, Felicia, who? What? That it was just, it was perfect. It was her.
Did you know the other one that he did in referencing 601?
So no,
this is a whole different ball game of Campbell. So Peter is exiting out of the apartment in 601.
Okay.
And Mary Jane is reading the paper, right?
Yes.
And having her coffee, right?
Yes.
So there's one with Black Cat. Peter's into the window.
So he's leaving MJ to go visit Felicia.
So he's swinging in, and you have the cat Noir, the cat like Lenore, the French thing. I don't know the exact term. I spent a lot of money for that cover. I spent more money for that cover not to be signed than to have it signed.
Oh wow!
My goal is to get it next time I go to a con and Campbell's there to submit the CGC for signing. So that it comes out graded. It's a beautiful book. And I spent more money on that book. And I do have a 601, so they will be matching.
Oh, that's awesome.
Graded.
No, wow, that's amazing. That is literally epic. Oh my goodness.
That's not my most prized possession of Campbell.
Oh, really?
I have a Spider-Man 700, J. Scott Campbell in Midtown. Connecting Superior Spider-Man signed by Campbell and Lee. 9.8s. Wow.
I'm like in awe.
I spent a good bunch of money on that book. That book is probably valued $16 to $2,000 the pair.
Wow. Holy cow. That's epic.
Or way less. It's not for sale. It's not for sale. It's not.
Right.
I mean, if somebody made me an offer for like $5,000, I would sell it. But it's actually not my most single expensive book.
Nice. Wow. That's epic. Holy cow.
I'm a big Campbell fan. I'm an early Campbell fan.
Okay.
I don't like his new stuff. I don't think it's as good. I don't think it's as valuable. I think really his stride was when he did those Midtown covers, and about 2 years after, and about anything before those covers was great, and about 2-3 years after was great.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, no, definitely would agree. I think one of my absolute favorite, like I said, I mean, I think that Red Cat was like definitely top favorite of mine. My husband actually got it for me signed, which was super cool. And I just like, it was just so different. It really was. It was just super funny. Like I said, with just kind of like MJ throwing it out there in like Felicia's face, like, oh, well, I can be a cat too, you know. And it was just kind of like, it was so absolutely like perfect from that aspect, right? And then on top of that, I thought it was very cool how later, you know, more recently, they've kind of teamed up together in a lot of the different series. But I'm a pretty big fan of the King series too, between Gwenom and
I think he did a good job on those too.
Yeah.
There's the regular where it's Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane in the band, and there's the Venom version of them in the band.
Yes.
And then there's the third version. Forget, or it's half and half.
It's half and half. Yep. Exactly.
And then it's the fall. Oh, it's a beautiful set. It's a beautiful set. It's like a $80 set. I bought that one.
Yes.
Too. I thought that was clever.
Yeah, that was those were fun. I actually recreated the MJ, like Carnageized MJ. I've done Carnageized Black Cat. That was a lot of fun too. And even for like those two, I really enjoy the symbiotes because those are a lot of fun to like make the slime. I'll actually take like Flex Seal, and it looks horrible, but I'm like, oh my god, if my landlord ever saw my like she shed, they would die. But I took a big garbage bag and hung it from the ceiling of my shed, and then threw a tarp on the bottom and used Flex Seal and just drizzled Flex Seal around the plastic bag. And it was rad because it happened to be a Glad bag, so it had like the little diamond shape. So when I peeled it off, it was perfect to just like mount some like either magnets or pins on it, and then I had like drapey, flowy, weird rubberized symbiote stuff. So that was a lot of fun. So I enjoyed the symbiote.
I am a fan of Venom. I enjoy Venom a lot. Todd McFarlane is a genius. So many ways. Tom DeFalco is pretty smart too.
I agree.
But I digress.
Oh, I digress. Yeah. Goodness.
And then I do want to talk since we're on, symbiote and stuff like that. The person to talk about is Jamie Tyndall on that, because Jamie Tyndall does White Widow. I know way less about White Widow, but I did sell a bunch of books just recently for White Widow. I sold his Pokemon variants that he did from his website, and I made a good chunk of money on that. Yep. I made a good chunk of money. I don't think I sold it to you or your husband, so it's all right.
Oh, I bet.
I don't
yeah, no, actually,
that'd be really weird.
Yeah,
that'd
definitely
be really
not.
Weird
that would be yeah, right. I was gonna say that'd be a little awkward for sure, but no, actually, with Jamie Tyndall, it was really exciting when White Widow got announced. I had an opportunity to join the Kickstarter, and knowing like that he's done other covers and variants in the past, I was just kind of like, oh, interesting. Let me check out what the story is actually about, and it was so cool. Like, Gabriella is an amazing character. She was like one of the first Latina, super strong, powerful, kind of like thrown into a Spider Verse, right? Albeit her own, but she also came from a background where basically, she had a really bad congenital and chronic illness, and her dad tried to do everything in his power to try to help her and stop it. And unfortunately, it actually kind of was sort of that radioactive spider bite that, basically gave her superpowers. And honestly, for me, having an invisible disability, like Crohn's disease, as well as a really severe degenerative type of and very rare type of arthritis that I have, one of the things that I've always kind of, I think, resonated with are people who kind of call their quote unquote sort of disabilities superpowers. And that was actually something like my dad kind of told me about. He was like, well, you could look at it two different ways, right? You could have this thing and talk about it and realize, hey, there's not a cure for it, or you could just consider it your superpower. Now, I haven't exactly figured out how it turns out to be something positive.
It's interesting you bring that up. So obviously I have a physical disability, and it makes me actually, I work in accessibility. That's not a secret. And while I work in digital accessibility, having a physical disability allows me to see things differently. It also makes me a better investor, because I see things very differently than everybody else sees things.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been rewarded for it massively. I'm also a contrary investor, and I tend to see things differently. One of the things that I figured out very quickly, accidentally, because I started going to anime cons and I wanted free passes, so you present panels, and then I started saying, I can't run around the same way.
Yeah.
So let me figure out how to attract people to me. It sounds crazy, but I've attracted and sold out rooms a few times. And when you're attracting 250 people to you, I mean, that's a real skill. Now, take that, instead of me talking about a anime or a comic, what if I'm talking about real estate and people are paying me money to sit in every single seat? Now we're getting into a different game plan completely. And now you're attracting people to you and then figuring out how to do that. So I get it completely. Where I don't view it as a superpower, I just view it as a different viewpoint on how to interpret things. And I think it's really interesting that you bring that up because I
Yeah.
think that a lot of people don't necessarily view it that way, where I wouldn't call it a superpower. I would call it, I have a different perspective. And
Mhm.
because of that, it gives me different insight into how to approach an issue.
Sure. No, absolutely. That's spot on. And that's, I've definitely been able to, I think, use the same kind of the same sort of mentality, right? To be able to kind of identify, areas where there is, I think, more visibility that needs to be brought to accessibility. I even had knee surgery over the summer, and I was planning to go to the convention, wanted to go. It was Crunchyroll Expo. I'm not going to miss that. So, that's something else that I agree with you. When you kind of think about having something just in a different light, right, or giving you a different lens, different perspective, having a superpower, giving you different experiences. Again, it just kind of makes us, I think, more well-rounded people. And the nice thing is we can also find, like, inside our community, there's always pockets of people who are like, oh, me too, like, hey, that kind of thing.
No,
So I
it's just
think
about making money for me. That's all it's about.
okay, there you
And
go.
completely, I'll be very honest. It gives me a different viewpoint, and I take every opportunity where I view it as an opportunity, not as a lack of, because there's plenty of lack
Sure.
of opportunities for me, without a doubt, without a doubt. I cannot compete and run around a con the same way somebody else can. But I also say, cool, I now need to think about how I want to get what I want. And I approach things very differently. I approach them more methodically. And it has served me very well at conventions where I budget accordingly,
Yeah.
and because I have a battle plan, I start at one side of the con and I work the other way where I go from high ticket item down to low ticket item versus low ticket item up to high ticket
Yeah.
item. Because when you do it the other way, by the time you get to the low ticket items, you start realizing, oh, snap, I have less and less money. And you
Mm,
start becoming more and more picky on
got it.
everything. And I also realized that the low ticket items are at the exit of the con and not at the other side purposely because
Yep.
they want you. It's kind of like milk and bread are at the end of a supermarket for a reason.
Right.
So now, if you approach it the opposite way because of my disability, you all of a sudden, I wind up spending less and less money, but I wind up having less and less, I guess, fat, and I wind up with less
Right.
stupid shit at the end of
Right.
the con after 3 days. And it's crazy. And I'm like, oh man, I got an extra $200. Where did this come from? It's the
Yeah.
funniest thing. And then I'm like, cool. And then it goes into a fund for the next one. And now,
Right. Nice.
instead of me having to save $1,000, I had to save $800. And then the same thing happens again. And so now
Yeah.
what's happening is that because I go from top down and not bottom up, there you go. But
Nice.
different
Yeah, no,
insight.
that totally makes sense. That's a good strategy. Yeah, I never thought about that before.
But again, nobody has to listen to me. Nobody has to listen to me. Everybody should do them. You do you. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. But if you copy my battle plan, everybody, I promise you, you will be better off. I can assure you because it's working. It's working very well. And then we need to talk about this too.
Oh yes, Rogue. Yeah, so I was excited about that one too. Yeah, my first X-Men. Yeah. That let's see, my one of my actual best friends, she was like getting rid of a bunch of stuff, and she was just like, cosplays for sale, right? So again, kind of going back to different areas of sourcing for cosplay. I'm totally into secondhand cosplays, not a big deal, especially because a lot of my personal friends and myself kind of have shifted the way that we do cosplay. you know, it used to be kind of in the past, you would sort of save up, do like a big build or a big, you know, enormous character, and then take it to the convention. And then you're like, oh, okay, what do I do now? Maybe I'll just like, you know, I'll find something else until the next con, right? So there was always like that ramp time where you didn't really have anything going on. And so I started kind of seeing more and more people like, oh, you know, if you do buy your cosplays, you have more, you actually have more content, you can post more, you create more characters, you have a lot more, you know, things that you can actually kind of put out to the world. And so for me, again, kind of that disposable income being a luxury that I know not everybody else has, but that was something that I actually shifted to. And so in probably the past like 2 years, I was just kind of pumping out different characters wherever I could. Yes, still keeping true to my cosplay, like why, like finding characters that had that kind of connection. And so I was really excited when my friend was selling her Rogue cosplay, because going back to like what I had said earlier in the show too, I really love the animated X-Men of the 90s. That was my jam. I would like wait and, you know, get home from school, like put it on, or it was Saturday morning and that was what I was doing. Hopefully didn't have a soccer game at the same time, or I'd like beg my dad to tape it. But like I loved Rogue and Gambit were just like the it couple for me, much like Gwen Stacy or MJ and Peter, you know? And so yeah, I was really jazzed about that. Plus, it was like my first time kind of getting back into the X-Men series, because I hadn't really been into it for a really long time.
Yeah, and obviously Rogue right now is super hot.
Totally.
And super hot. Gambit's super hot. Obviously, a lot of variants are coming out. And
Yep.
all I know is that I have a Rogue X-Men card. That's my first exclusive for my store coming.
Nice.
It is not safe for work though, which is going to be awesome. Everybody's going to be like, "Oh, it's going to be great." They're starting at $40 a pop.
Nice. That's awesome.
There's only 25 of them in the world. That's why.
Wow.
If
Okay.
they might even be more. Now that I think about it, now that I'm going to sell them, I'm going to make a small little fortune on that trading card. Done by Greg Bo Watson of all people. And I think it's his logo on his fan page, the Safe for Work version, which is ludicrous. Ludicrous. Again, I was just first come, first serve on that. No
That's cool.
privilege. I know Greg Bo well enough. No privilege was played on that. I'm just super smart. And I know it's going to be a great card. And you all can hate me. And you are going to want it. There's 25 of them in the world.
Right.
So you all can hate me, but I know I'm going to make a fortune on that. I think those things are going to sell it really quickly on my eBay store.
Totally. For sure. Oh, I think so.
I'm still trading cards, my baseball cards, and my comics.
That's awesome.
I hope it sells out. I hope it sells out in like a week, because that'd be the best thing ever. I'd be like, I'm sorry, I have none left. Like,
yeah, sorry, my bad, right?
But I like Rogue right now a lot. So I want to throw that one up there. And then I do want to mention DC really quickly.
Yeah.
Because I'm a Starfire fan.
Yay.
More Starfire. Raven. More Raven. Same Raven. And I have a DC Presents number 26 graded.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I
7.5 though, so it's not a 9. But it's still a high enough grade, and that book has appreciated nicely. And for those who don't know, DC Presents number 26 is the first appearance of Starfire, Cyborg. What was it? Raven was in there, or was it Beast Boy? I think it was Raven, right? Because I think Beast Boy was in something else.
I think, yes, you're right. Raven was first. Yes, that's correct.
I think Beast Boy was in Doom Patrol when Beast Boy came, or Changeling, I want to say.
Changelings, I think. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was one of those. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. So. I do. I'm a very big DC fan. I very much love Batman. Again, growing up, totally into all things that were Batman related, and of course the movies. I love those. The like old school original ones with Jack Nicholson as the Joker. That was my era.
Good Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Good stuff. Who is the girl in that?
So that was Kim. It was Kim Basinger, I think, in that one. Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, Kim. I think it was Kim Basinger. But yeah, like super awesome. So my favorite. Really dig them. And so I actually ended up doing Starfire and Raven because of Teen Titans, and my nephew like is such a huge fan of Teen Titans. I swear I think it's on like all the time whenever we go over to their house. But so he loves Beast Boy, so that's why he had the connection to Starfire and Raven as characters. And it was kind of funny because I ended up crafting those Starfire's little light bulbs, and like that was fun. That was the first time I'd ever really like did anything with LEDs or lights. And so that was super cool. And I actually ended up meeting we actually met Jason Momoa while I was Starfire, and he was like super impressed with my orbs because he was like, do those light up? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that's cool. And like literally that was our entire exchange outside of just like, okay, pose, take a picture, next, you know? So it was cool because he was just so into like, wow, what is that? And I'm like, they're just little fireballs for my character. And he was just like, wow, like so enthralled. But yeah, and of course I love Raven. Like the other half of me is, you know, I am very kawaii, League of Legends, you know, very all of that that's cute and princessy. But the other half of me, yes, I am very much that, very KDA. But the other half of me is very yes, it is very goth. You know, my two extremes of yes, exactly. Like my two extremes of music are K-pop and metalcore. So there you go. Yeah.
And since we dropped that one, we should probably throw something else up there too while we're at it, because this is also that vibe.
Yes, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Okay, so there's a little story with my infatuation with JoJo. That was like my husband and I were starting to get back into anime after going to a lot of cons, especially like 2019. He was just so like enthralled with every person who was a JoJo Bizarre Adventure cosplay character. And it's just because to embody those characters, you got to do the comic like makeup, you got to do the thick lines, right? And you have to do the crazy poses. And so he was just like, what is this JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Like, what is this? What is this all about? And so it was our first anime. Because like at the time, if I wanted to watch My Hero Academia, I'm a big fan of subbed versus dubbed. He prefers dubbed versus subbed. So already there's a little divide. But I was like, all right, let's watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Let's try to get into some things. I've been watching Demon Slayer. That's ended. Like, let's do it. And so we fell in love with all things around JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And yes, it is because the writer was so enthralled with like 70s and 80s American rock that's where all the names
Speedwagon, some Queen is in there.
What is it? Pale Snake is White Snake. You've got from Golden Wind, right? It's Spice Girl. I mean, it's just everything is just all around music.
It's like One Piece. One Piece is pop culture 101.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It's all things about like rock for sure. American rock, like an American classic rock, right? Even in the Italian one, Golden Wind, they still found a way to like get that in there, which I love. I totally do. So it was actually this last year at Fanime, my husband was just like, I want to do a mashup. And I'm like, okay, of what? And he was like, Rick and Morty and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I was just like, huh. All right. Okay. We can get that. This is weird. All right. Weird's good. I like weird. Let's get down with weird. And so I'm like, so what were you thinking? And he's like, I don't really know. But he was like, I kind of want to take Rick and I kind of want to take Jotaro. And I kind of want to mash them up. And I was like, all right, that's going to be interesting. All right. Good idea. Let's roll with it. We happen to be out at the spirit store around like 2 years ago, Halloween. Yes.
I know where this is going. I know where this is going, guys.
Okay. I'm like, okay. So no, so we already had the Rick base for his cosplay. We just needed to figure out, one, how can we mesh Jotaro in here? And then two, I was like, what's your prop going to be? And he's like, I want a stand. I want to make Star Platinum. And I'm like, all right, great. I got to learn how to become a Muppeteer. All right, no problem. We will make you a Muppet. So we ended up finding a plastic mask of Morty that was just like, you know, super cheap, painted rubber band kind of elastic thing on the back of the head, right? So I was like, all right, let's get that. Let's use that as the base. And my husband was like, oh my God, I've got it. I'm going to make the mashup. It'll be Rick Cujo, and then it'll be Morty Platinum. And we're going to make the stand off of this mask. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's absolutely epic. So needless to say, we did do a little sourcing, a little purchasing. The Jotaro jacket is incredibly tough to make. I am not very well versed with vinyl just yet. I'm still getting there with sewing. So I was like, yeah, we're going to need to buy that jacket. But thankfully, we actually ended up getting everything to work and pull it off. He has a stand that he actually straps to his backpack. And then we have a couple of different ways that the arms come around him so he can actually punch. And the punch looks like it's actually Morty Platinum's arm. He painted the Morty mask purple and black, so he looks like Star Platinum. I sewed a wig, like an actual wig, onto the thing, so it's like purple and black. So it's epic. And I think it was really funny because I don't think he was ready for the amount of like intensity that he got around his build and around his cosplay. Because yeah, I'll make foam, you know, like I made a foam needle for my Gwen from League of Legends. Cool. I've never built anything that big. And so even I was kind of like, I don't know how this is going to go. I'm more like, are they going to kick us out because it's too big and bulky? Or are they going to make me your handler for the day? Which I'll totally do. But it was fun because then I actually got to pull in and make and be Jolene and some of the other JoJo Bizarre Adventure characters so that it kind of fit the actual like couple cosplay sort of thing. So it was so much fun. It is something that he still gets recognized for today. And we are actually going to take it a step further this year. And we're going to try to get it to pull it off. I got a con crunch, but we're going to try to turn Rick into a Rick and Bruno Bukarani mashup with the zippers everywhere. We're going to try. It'll be fun.
I'm not a builder in this sense. I'm the only thing I really build with is Legos, and I'm quite good at it. So
that's awesome. I just step on them, so
they hurt too. I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I would rather be in a thumbtack match than a Lego match in wrestling.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Way better to be in thumbtacks.
Exactly. Hands down. Once they're in, you're done.
On the indie scene, whenever the Legos come out, I cringe. Because I know how bad it is. And Kennedy Copeland did the most savage thing ever. So there's a Millennium Falcon, right? Yeah. She takes the Millennium Falcon. We're like, she's going to use it as a weapon. She picks it up and she smashed it outside the ring. Oh. What a heel. Brilliant. It smashes all over. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was dying of laughter. It was one of the funniest things, but what a heel. Because it would have been a great weapon. It would have ended the match. Yeah. Instead, she just takes it out of the ring and she just throws it.
Oh my goodness.
Floor. And you can see the crowd is just like completely shocked.
Just shocked, right? Like,
I mean, Han Solo was in the cockpit. How dare she? She should have like opened it up, took Han Solo out, put it in her pocket, and then threw it down. It would have been so much better. She should have said the following: He already died in The Force Awakens. He doesn't need to die again.
Again.
Oh, TikTok
That-
of the year. TikTok of the year.
I love that. Oh my God, that would be so amazing. Yes, I totally agree.
In the middle of a wrestling match, oh, TikTok of the year, hands down. It's almost as
Easily.
good as Brother Greatness. Almost as
Oh.
good as him. So Brother Greatness, he comes out. He's like running a religion, right? It's great.
Yeah.
So he comes up with a collection basket at this wrestling event. So the collection basket is big, right? And he comes out and people put, fake money in there. They put bread in there. They put Swedish fish in there because obviously it's a religious thing. It's clever. And so somebody had a newborn baby. So they put the baby in the basket.
Oh my God.
This is caught, by the way, on tape.
Wow.
And this was live on IWTV. And he thought, oh, it's a doll. Why are they putting the doll in there? And then he starts pulling the basket closer. And he realizes it's a real kid.
Like, oh my gosh. Wow.
And Brother Greatness is a true professional. The guy's been wrestling for 10 years. He sees it and he's like, oh my gosh.
Right? Like, oh.
He played it off perfectly. And I thought it should have been the indie moment of the year. I really thought it should have been. And I'm surprised that it wasn't because it was brilliant and it probably made his career, which is crazy. But I get attention. I get attention. I completely get attention. He is probably one of my only near perfect interviews ever that I've done. That was 50 minutes of almost every beat was perfect, which is insane. That doesn't happen. Like I've never had a more perfect interview except with him.
That's awesome.
And it's not a knock on anybody. It was just the way it was flowing.
Yeah.
Everybody was on par. And it was crazy. It was crazy. And I was just relaxed. And where I was meeting him, he was meeting me. And when I was meeting him 60%, he was meeting me 40%. And it was just a weird thing where everybody was just in tune perfectly. It was almost like a Hemi run. It was that perfect. I can't explain it, but like that is the ultimate thing when something is just perfectly working. Epic.
Yeah.
Almost as good as my Will Friedle story.
Amazing.
It's almost as good. It's almost as good as my Will Friedle story. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, okay.
No, if you're a Batman fan, he's Terry McGinnis, Batman Beyond.
I know. That's why I was like, wait a minute, you're just going to kind of end that with a cliffhanger? Like, okay, we'll talk about that another time.
So the basic story is that Dan Jurgens wrote Batman Beyond, and I was in D.C. I used to live in D.C., and Dan was lecturing at the Library of Congress with Paul Levitz, talking about 80 years of Superman. So I'm the guy, and Paul Levitz was a professor of mine in college. And so I'm the guy who said, hey, professor, how are you? Asking a question in the Library of Congress, talking about 80 years of Superman and saying, as this was going on and Death of Superman was going on, also Nightfall was going on. And what was that like? Because you have the two most iconic characters going, selling millions of books and millions of dollars, and you're running DC. Dan, you're in charge of, creating this doomsday story. And what is this like? Because this is like DC at its top moment where you got the two biggest superheroes in DC running the show. It was a good question. And then I was speaking with Levitz after and Dan Jurgens, and they were going to be at AwesomeCon.
Okay.
To Dan, maybe you could throw a little stinger on my Batman Beyond book. And a little stinger is maybe a little bat symbol, changes getting graded. Adds maybe $10, $20, $30 worth of value to it. It's cool. So instead, Dan just starts drawing, cool little sketch head of a Batman on a Batman Beyond book. I'm not going to tell Dan to stop. It's getting graded. CGC's witnessing it. And then Dan's handler said, yo, you're going to get Will Friedle plays Terry McGinnis to sign. I'm like, nah, I don't want to push it. He's like, wait right here. And then I'm brought backstage behind everything. And Will Friedle's line stops and he signs it. Will Friedle, I am Batman, ... CGC's witnessing the whole thing. The handler's witnessing it.
Wow.
Signature. Got to speak to Will Friedle for like 2 minutes. Super cool moment.
That's amazing.
Very cool.
Holy cow.
One of those things where people know how to be adults in the room sometimes. And I'm
Yeah.
on crutches. Meanwhile, I'm walking. I said, I'm not going to push my luck, man. I'm more
Right.
than happy about the sketch. I'm more than happy about this. You know, I'm more than happy that it's getting graded. If you
Right. Yeah.
sketch something on it, would have been fine if Dan didn't want to sketch something on it. And I wasn't going to push it. I wasn't going to push my luck. I was happy with what I got. And
Yeah.
that's just one of those things. And it's a cool book. It's not for sale because the story is worth more. And this is,
Yes.
I said this last night on a show, and then I'll say it again. At some point, I will start the 15-minute Your Favorite Comic Book Story podcast. It's 15 minutes, and that's all it is that it's maybe 5 questions about your favorite moment in comic. And every week, it's going to be somebody else. It's going to be maybe, a very, very easy show to produce, a lot of fun,
Cool.
and
Yeah.
I think it'll do wonders. I think it'll actually make money.
I
really
agree.
do.
I think yeah, you're on to something. That's super cool.
But
I love it.
That's my whole thing. But I digress because I do want to talk about this too.
Oh, Tekken. Yes. So I fell into the world of Genshin Impact. Absolutely. I think everybody did when all the waifus came out.
I know nothing about this show. I know nothing about it.
Okay, so it's a game, online game. It's very cool. You can have you can go on quests with people. It's super interactive. You can I personally just veg out on the weekend and just go power my people up and look for new characters to go partner with throughout the world. But you're
not a gamer. That's the problem.
Yeah, see, that's my other thing. When I'm not building things or sewing things, I really just kind of like to veg out to pretty much mostly League of Legends, Genshin Impact,
I'm like the worst.
but I'm terrible too because I like to play a lot of like Sunhaven and Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing. Here, just take care of a farm for
shit.
Okay.
I love Animal Crossing. That Tom Nook is my hero.
Oh my god, Tom Nook, he's such a dick.
He's my hero. I mean, I want to be exactly like him. I want to have twins working for me who are my kids running my show, and then I want to go into real estate. It's gonna be great. I mean, I have an elf as my logo, and it's totally inspired by Tom Nook. I love Tom Nook. The way he runs his store. Oh, what a great businessman. The fact that he makes you work for him for a while at a very reduced rate. But what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to rob him blind.
Right. If there was only a way.
There is. He's like, plant the flowers. You plant one of them. And he's like, good job.
Oh, right. Yes. Just what? The bare minimum. The absolute bare minimum. Yes. And he keeps you coming back too. The little shit too. All the little extra chingy things you can put in your house. And look, of this holiday and that holiday. And come back for more stuff. And I'm just
See, what you have to do, though, is you have to understand how to screw him over.
Yeah.
And what you have to do is you have to cut down all your shitty trees in Animal Crossing and replace them with exotic fruit trees. See, It's not that hard, guys. What you do is that you have a friend and he visits, and he sends you an orange. You send him a cherry. Then you take that, you get 3 oranges, and you cut down the cherry tree that you have, dig it up with a shovel, plant an orange, water it a bunch, and now you have a $500 asset per fruit. And this is Tom Nook.
Well, that would constitute that would constitute a requirement to need to talk to other people. See, and I don't do that. So because when it's gaming time, it's my time. I don't talk to people. So I'm joking. But
you don't need to talk to people. You just need to have somebody visit your town, get you an orange, you give them a cherry, you tell them to fuck off, and then you're good to go. It's not hard. This has nothing to do with socialization. This is strictly business.
It's just a business transaction.
I deal with people all the time in business. I don't talk to them. I don't talk to half the people I don't talk to 90% of the people I saw on eBay. And they're like, thank you for sending me my book perfectly, man. You're a day late. I don't care. You got me my book perfectly. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you either. I'm glad.
Oh my God, you're funny.
Andrew, I'll pay you more money not to talk to you. Just send me my book and we'll be good. It's
Oh
great.
my God, that's hilarious.
What do you think of selling on
Right?
eBay? I don't want to sell live on the internet. It's horrible.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
want to sell on eBay. I don't want to speak. I'll speak to somebody saying, "Nah, dude, we're not going to do it that way. It's going to cost you $10 more if I sell it to you that way. We're going to do it this way. I'm going to save you
Nice.
money." It's like,
There you
thank you. I appreciate it.
There you go. I like it.
That's my interaction with people. It's strictly business. This has nothing to do with socialization. I don't care. You need a peach or a cherry. I need an orange. Great. I'll give you 2 cherries. You give me 2 oranges. We're good to go.
Nice.
This is
I
about
like it.
making money. It's not about socialization. When it's
There
about
we go.
socialization, I'll give you a cherry and you'll give me a cherry and we'll have 2 cherries and we've accomplished nothing.
Yeah.
But we had a good time.
But we had a great time, exactly. And we socialized. And yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
But I'm not a gamer. It's terrible. The last game I played was Cyberpunk 2077, and I didn't even get past the 4th mission. Instead, after the 4th mission, before Jackie dies, sorry guys, spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
I couldn't do it, right? I got all these weapons and all this ammunition in the game. And then I just decided to do every side quest in a beat up, shitty cyberpunk-esque car.
Nice.
Driving around. I legitimately found every area in that game, and I'm not even past Jackie dying.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I dig it.
Money, and by the time Jackie dies, I'm gonna upgrade myself so efficiently that like I'm gonna have bullets on my handgun. It's gonna automatically target everybody.
Hell yeah!
And I'm gonna like beat the game in like an hour, and I'm gonna be like baseball time. And my favorite thing to do is go up to people in that game and smack them with a baseball bat. It's the best thing ever. It's the best thing ever. It's so much fun.
That's hilarious. No, literally.
Cyberpunk style. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I broke the game. I broke the game. I spent like $60 on it, and I've legitimately played it like for 70 hours of doing nothing.
That's awesome. No, seriously, like that's how my husband and his friend play those kinds of games too. Like he just beat Hogwarts, that newest Hogwarts game, because he did exactly that. He was like, "Screw your stupid story. First of all, I'm going to be the world's biggest jerk." Like every response and interaction was always just him being like a smartass and super snarky. So that was fun. But then he just went off and did all the random side quests, became like level 25, came back and like kicked ass the rest of like the 10 minutes of the gameplay.
I haven't even beaten the game. I cannot see Jackie die. I refuse.
You're like, I'm not going to have it happen. It will not happen in my timeline.
I'm so devastated when I learned the story of Jackie dying. I'm like, no, this is terrible.
You're like, no, it can't happen.
I'm upset about it. I'm still upset about it. I didn't even see it yet, and I'm still upset about it.
You're like, it stops with me, and it stops now.
Jackie's still alive in my game.
Right. Exactly. That's awesome.
It's just terrible. It's just terrible. But again, I'm not a gamer. I know nothing about Genshin Impact. I don't really care. I bought the One Piece game for the statue.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
I didn't even open it. I bought the Resident Evil game for the music. I'm terrible. Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 4, the remake, looks dope.
Oh,
that game looks dope. And the RoboCop game, oh my God, that's 80s RoboCop. I mean, that thing looks dope too.
I'm stoked on those, yeah.
I'm
for
30,
sure.
And I don't remember RoboCop, but that thing looks dope.
Oh my God. Yes. No, yeah, it looks awesome. I'm super stoked for both of those. I think there's going to be like, there's so many games that are coming out that I'm like so stoked for. It's like, I'm so jazzed. And then of course, with these kind of like little paywall games, right? Of course, it's always the new skins and the new expansion. So there's new stuff coming for everything all the time. But yeah, no, I do enjoy gaming. It's kind of just my chill out, veg out kind of thing. If I'm not watching like random YouTube videos or listening to music, and not cosplaying, then that's what I'm doing.
I have such a problem where I need to play the One Piece game. I need to open up the One Piece game and play
it. Yeah.
Resident Evil 2 and play it. I need to finish Kingdom Hearts 3 and play 2 and play 1.
Okay.
I haven't done that yet. I bought that game on a whim.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It's cool. I bought the deluxe edition. It's fun. You get the pin, you get the art book, you get the metal casing. It's a cool thing.
Yeah.
I should have bought Welcome to the Show MLB. That would have been good.
Oh yeah.
Because you could hit people with pitches apparently.
Yes.
It's great. Search them out. It's hilarious. So much to do. There's so many things you do in a baseball game that you should not be able to do.
Right.
But like, I have no time. I have no time to do any of this.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually running a business. I'm doing this. I work a 40-hour work week, and I watch probably at least 12 episodes of anime a week.
Okay. Yeah.
And wait till I add drinking back into the mix.
I was gonna say, and that's when you're not drinking, right? So when you add that back in, you're like, and then it exponentially increases. No, I'm joking.
Oh, and I can't forget about my Law and Order. That's 3 hours right there too.
Oh wow. Okay.
But anyway, this is why I don't game anymore, because there's no time. There's no time.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. I know there's this one too. I think you mentioned her as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually won. That was so I made that dress. I did not make the gloves or the bows, but I actually made the hoop skirt and the dress, and there were little ankle things that I was wearing, and I made that sewing needle. So that is Gwen, the seamstress from League of Legends, and I think she came out, I want to say like a year or two ago, right after Seraphine, who I'm wearing today, had come out, and just another really cool gaming platform. I really love their characters. They're just they're super extravagant and really colorful, and I am a huge fan of that type of gameplay. Like, one of my all-time favorites that I seriously go back to, I've beaten the game like I don't know how many times, 5 times, and I play it on like Hellion level, is Diablo 3. That's like all-time favorite, one of my absolute favorite games. So it's very similar as far as like raids and campaigns and style like that. I love it. Again, you don't have to play with people if you don't want to. It does make it a little easier to kind of level up quicker. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And like I said, I really am drawn to the aesthetic. I really enjoy that character, like the character fandom and just their stylings. I think that Riot has gotten a little bit of a bad rap, I think, in the industry, mostly for like work environment.
Activision hasn't.
Okay, well, I mean, come on, right? But I definitely think everybody has like their own kind of, I think everyone has their own drama or story, if you will, about like working at a game place. But yeah, I am a fan of their music series as well. That's the one thing that I have to give them credit for, that they actually started putting some more time and energy and effort into developing a lot of the soundtracks. And I love KDA. Again, I'm a huge K-pop stan. So yeah, I thought it was really cool that they kind of intermingled that. And they really held true to a lot of the characteristics like of what an idol is and how they act, and really put that into the KDA character. So I thought that was awesome. It's very cool.
No, I have not watched an idol anime in a while. Yeah. I have no desire to get back into watching those.
Love Live, yeah.
I don't think I can make it. I appreciate what they're trying to do. I do like Hatsumiku. I was supposed to see Hatsumiku, but COVID happened.
I was supposed to go too. Yep, I'm with you.
But I did see Sailor Moon live. That was cool.
That's super cool. Yeah, they did something similar with League of Legends. They actually had like a whole orchestra kind of traveling show. That would have been so cool. It came to San Francisco and it was just work time for me, so I wasn't able to go. But I've heard some of the other ones.
I made it a priority to go to Sailor Moon live.
Nice.
It was awesome. It was awesome. It was really cool. It was really cool. Great. I felt a little weird because I was definitely the minority, the guy in there. I'm pretty sure, when I say something that's somewhat offensive, I'm pretty sure half the women in that audience thought I was gay. So
Oh,
I'm pretty sure of that with my mom, of all people. I'm pretty sure of it. Being a 28-year-old, but I was perfectly happy because I was drinking my
yeah,
nice beer and I was watching Sailor Moon
nice.
and
Yeah,
fascinating. So interesting. Definitely enjoyed it. And it was good. It was good. It was enjoyable.
that's awesome.
It's
That is
definitely
so
worth like
great.
$120 ticket price.
Yes, they are quite costly. I will say that when like the two worlds collide and you get the concert series going, yeah, that's like a whole different ball game, but it's definitely worth it.
I was tempted to go see Radwinks in New York City, but it was also
Oh.
WrestleMania weekend. So I was like, WrestleMania weekend, Radwinks. Otherwise,
Gee, I want.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say because that's a hard choice to make.
Oh, it was on night one. It was a good call. Radwinks is
Oh,
great. But night one of WrestleMania was freaking awesome. It was
that
awesome.
that is super cool. I have to say, I actually wore this version of Seraphine, the Starry-Eyed Songstress, to Silicon in this was it wasn't last year, it was a year before, so 2021. And I actually got a chance to meet Jake the Snake Roberts. And so that was super cool. We did a photo op, and I was like the only cosplayer, I guess, that day that he had even seen. And he got super excited. And so he was like, "Oh my gosh, your costume's so great. Like, I love this. Like, who are you?" Like, and they were kind of like, okay, your time's up, get out, right? Like, carry on. And so he was like, "After, come back to my table, I'll sign your photo." And I was like, "No, no, it's okay. Like, I didn't pay for that. It's totally okay. I don't want to take your time." He was like, "No, I'm asking you to come back by." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So then we took like actual like personal pictures together. It was such a genuine salt of the earth kind of guy. He was like so excited that like my husband and I grew up on like Hulkamania. We loved, again, we're older, on the older age, but we grew up with Rowdy Piper, in the barber shop, and like Ultimate Warrior and all of that stuff. So it was just like, "Oh, you're amazing." And he's still ginormous. So that was amusing. And I was just like, "Hello, giant sir." So, but yeah, no, that was my one cool thing.
Yeah, see, none of this happens. None of this happens to me. None of this happens when I go to cons. I'm just happy I pay. I'm perfectly happy, and then I
Totally.
lecture, and then it's all good. But I meet a lot of interesting people,
For
and
sure.
I did get to interview the Bushwhackers. So
Oh, that's awesome. They're so cool.
I was just in the right place at the right time. I was drinking a twisted tea, threw out something to somebody as something, and I was like, "Yeah, why don't you come on?" And he said, "I might have something for you, Andrew." And there you go. And it's just one of those things where it just happens.
It just
And
happens, right? Yeah.
I ask a lot of people, and you know what it is? It's just one of those things where you just keep on asking, and you hope for the best. And you know, what do I have to lose? So
It's
there you go.
That's the other thing, that's the other thing I've learned, honestly. Like, people ask me all the time, like, "Oh, I know you're older than me. Like, what's your advice?" And I'm like, first of all, just always be yourself. Don't really give a crap what other people say. And a lot of times, just asking. When it's one of those situations, like, what's the worst that could really happen? Go with the question, just ask, just see what happens, just put it out there, because a lot of times you're going to get a really positive response. So just try. There's usually no fee in trying. There's really no harm in it. So just go for it.
Oh, it's crazy when shit. I just ask, and what I also figured out is that a good friend of mine, Raven Gregory, said, sometimes you just got to keep on asking.
Yeah.
So I've asked, and I tell the story. I've asked Eric Scott Kimmer and Dorothy Fawn, who are both voice actors,
Yeah.
and I asked them in 2017. I interviewed both of them relatively close to each other, and last year in 2022, I took me 4 years to circle back then, 4.5 years. And what wound up happening is that I noticed that they didn't just answer their emails the first time, whether they didn't see it, whether I was brand new, whether I didn't have the clout, whatever it was. But guess what? If you circle back to somebody and you ask, you'd
Right.
be surprised. People are in different positions at
Yeah.
different times in their life. And also, sometimes in life, you have different clout. You have different positions. I'm a
Different. Yep.
interviewer now. I've been doing this for 10 years. So when I ask now, I'm like, hey, here's who's been on my show. Here's what I've done. And I've been doing this for 10 years. You know, I'm not some kid coming out of the woodwork asking some generic question.
Yeah.
You know, definitely more conversational. And I definitely prep up and I know what I'm doing. And I also have the backbone. So that's where I'm at. But again, you know, I'm still going to fail. I mean, 50%, if not more, are going to say no.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a very high rejection rate, but I also have a very high, quote unquote, I guess, succession rate because I just ask a lot. If you ask 1,000 people and you're going to get 70% no's, you're going to get 300 interviews.
Yeah, exactly.
But you still got a 70% rejection rate. But you ask so many people that you're going to get what you're going to get. And then that's kind of what happens. And there's a reason why I do anywhere from 120 to 160 interviews a year, which is a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of interviews. And I know people who do a lot more than me, but 100's a lot.
Right. No, definitely. That is a lot for sure.
Not to brag. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying.
Oh, no.
just saying that if you ask, you should receive.
Right. Very much. Very true. I agree with that.
But enough about that. Let's talk about religion next.
Oh, God, nope. Nope. There are two things that are off topic, politics and religion. They're just too sensitive, too hot button topic. People get way too passionate.
It's just too easy. It's just too easy.
Too passionate. Too passionate. So yeah, I'll plead the fifth.
My favorite joke. It's my favorite joke of all times is that whenever you talk about a controversial issue, you say, cool, now that we got through that, let's talk about religion.
People are like, whoa, no.
I just interviewed the guest before you. He has a book called Limbo, and basically Lucifer disappeared and a former priest takes over hell. Is the book. And in the book is about how everybody's trying to eye this new guy's thing, and like he's sitting in a bar and they're trying to figure out who's the next ruler, and like, oh, he's got big wigs and like he's drinking with all the demons. Oh, it's a great book. It's a great book because it's so satirical on the issue, and it's not religious. It's supposed to be a satirical question about it. And they're like, he's just drinking with all the demons, and like he has big wings. He's a big guy. He's got horns, and he's just like sipping his beer. Oh, it's a great scene. It's like the opening panel is that. I'm just like, dude, that's brilliant. That's so awesome. Brilliant in so many ways. But I digress. You should go back. J.D. Rosario's book, everybody. That's all I'm going to say. And he did not pay me to say that. He will be paying me in May though. That's for certain because he will be buying ad spots on my show. But I digress. Enough about me getting you and me in trouble. Now that I got canceled, that's what happens on this show. People get canceled. It's happened. Actually, never. Now that I think about it, if anything, I've gotten people like uncanceled. Now that I think about it,
there you go. Nice.
I've actually gotten people some interesting deals. Somebody got a movie deal because of me.
Hey, there you go.
Which is ironic to me because I don't know anybody in Hollywood. So
you're like, I don't know how that happened, but all right, run with it, right?
Kind of like when somebody tried to repossess my car. I'm like, you could take it, but you got to buy me one first. You gotta have a car.
Oh my God, that's funny. Wow. You're like, wait, there's a problem here. Yeah. Like...
yeah, go right ahead, man. Absolutely. But I digress. I do want to back out of all this, and I am very curious. Before I give you a chance to self-promote, where do you see cosplay going? Because a lot has happened in the industry. I think gatekeeping has gotten massively torn down. I'm very controversial on this topic, where I think the top 50 cosplayers before COVID had a much stronger hold on cosplay, and the community dictated a lot more. I really, really believe that. And now I think they still have some pull, but I don't think they have as much pull as they had. I think they have like 25, if not 30% less pull than they
Yeah.
did, which is a big, big relinquish of power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's opened up the door for a lot of people who have 20,000 followers or even
Agreed.
50,000 followers to actually have a say in this community and get a piece of the pie. And I
Yeah.
also think that there has been other avenues that some of these people have pursued. For lack of a better word, I don't think I need to spell them out
No.
on what they are, but it's relevant to me and anybody who's in the
Yeah.
space knows what I'm talking about. That is also sort of due to the gatekeeping has pushed that way. So I am very curious where you see it going because I think it's
Yeah.
at a very pivotal point right now, and it's gonna either sort of do what it needs to do or it's gonna go to hell, for lack of a better.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
no, I totally agree with you. And I think that you're
I'm
right.
trying to be very delicate in the question. I really am.
Yes, I agree. And I understand what you're saying. I definitely being in the female space, I think it's definitely interesting waters right now to navigate,
It's
right?
more of a female problem than a male problem in the cosplay realm, for
Uh
sure.
yes, I would agree. Only from I think just the number of users and content creators that are kind of out there and out in the open, right, with what they are doing. I think there might be more if you kind of keep it hush hush or behind closed doors, where there might be more males that are participating in those types of platforms. But um, I have
It doesn't carry the same weight on the male side.
you're right. You are very correct. It's not, I think it's not as in your face. It's like the waifu culture, right? In the anime space.
I'll be very honest. In the male side of what we're talking about, it's more rewarded than it's
Mm,
punished. It
hmm
sounds messed up, but as a male, it is more rewarded. It is
hmm
not stereotyped. It is not
right.
questioned. There is not negative to it. There's
Mhm.
also not that's more positively taken, and it's like okay,
Sure.
cool. In which
Yeah.
that, but on the female side,
hmm
questionable more. Also, there's a bunch of other stuff
Yeah.
going on with it too. There's also more of the idea of are you in it for the money comes up a
hmm
lot, and
Yeah.
those are fair questions. Those are fair questions because
Mhm.
somebody's making 500,000 on what they're doing, and yeah,
Right.
it's definitely, in my opinion, and it's just what I think. It raises a question on what is cosplay and what isn't, because I don't know because that line has become blurred.
hmm I agree. And I think that I would probably only be able to bring like my own myopic lens if I was to like truly just answer the question personally. I can say that with my own experience as of probably like the last year, maybe even 2 years, I've definitely seen kind of a paradigm shift in what constitutes or is considered cosplay, especially in the more boudoir area or, other, I think another standard term is lewds, if you will. Not nudes, but lewds. And so there is a driving force again, from these types of characters. Genshin Impact is a great platform, but on the other hand, we are also sexualizing a lot of these characters, and that sexualization in the gameplay, in pop culture and society, then bleeds over into what we are considering as an art form. I think that a lot of times, that if you are cosplaying, a spider character, for example, you may not get as much notoriety or as much hit on that type of content as someone who is, wearing something that is more provocative or more revealing for
We
that
could just
matter.
call it. I'll just call it straight out. Jessica Nigeria, if she dressed as Silk, he would not get the same attention
Yeah.
that she did when she dressed as her sexy Pikachu that put her on the map. Let's
Right.
let's let's call it what it is,
Yeah.
and let's not beat around the bush. And
Yeah.
if people really have an issue, and I get a cease and desist, I will fight that in court, hands down.
No,
Anywhere in any state, I will fight that completely on the principles of freedom of speech.
no, I do.
Without a doubt, I have a lawyer on retainer for this very purpose.
No, and I do agree. I do agree with you. I really do. I think, you know, and again, not to take it away any
but
of
that's
that.
cosplay. What she did, that's cosplay.
Right.
That sexy Pikachu is cosplay to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where it gets complicated is that I don't know. Right now, I'm not in cosplay, right? That's crystal clear. You're in cosplay. I am not. I'm wearing a cool t-shirt, but I'm not in cosplay. Now, if I was to wear a stormtrooper helmet while I was doing this, would that be cosplay? And this is where I'm confused.
So
Mass.
yeah, you know, and that's where I think, like you had said, you know, the elitism and the gatekeeping, it's come down to an extent, but where I still see it right now is gender. I still see a massive issue with gender. I gender bend my cosplays all the time. I'm like, anything a guy could do, a woman could do. Why not? And
Do you think anything a woman can do, a guy can do? That's a question. So let me preface it. The question:
within certain constraints, yes.
Do you think there could be a male Jill Valentine?
I think anything's possible. Absolutely. I mean, unless you're asking if a man can have babies, which absolutely not, because you are missing a uterus. I'm like, why the heck not? This is why it's cosplay.
This is not the question.
I'm just saying.
The reason why I bring this up is that I think that if you could, so we have Ash Ketchum. I think you could do female Ash Ketchum, right? I think you could do male Jill Valentine. My friend DJ Croft, who's a business partner, there's a male Jill Valentine. It's great. So he interprets Jill Valentine if she was a man.
Yeah.
It's great. It's awesome. And I'm trying to find him a female who will do a female Chris Redfield. And I want to connect them together. So they'll do a bunch of photo shoots together. So I think it's brilliant. Right?
No, absolutely.
But to me, he's not cross-dressing as Jill Valentine. He's interpreting the character, which is different than, you know, I guess a guy cross-dressing as a character or doing drag of a character.
I mean, I've seen it all. You know, there are current like male groups who are all the Sailor Scouts. And like they don't go to the extent of like they don't shave their legs, they don't put on the wigs. I mean, they'll dye their hair, which I think is more amusing than putting on a wig. And they literally will rock those Sailor Scout outfits, and some of them even wear heels, and I'm all about it. If you even wanted to just take that same type of gender bend but put them in pants, all about that. I think that's fantastic. Again, I think it's the variant, it's the derivative, it's taking that baseline that is a character, even the nuances of that character, and then expanding into what you think that they would look like from your own subjective perspective, right? Because what could be cool or true in your universe, I mean, think of it like Marvel. It could be slightly different in my universe, you know? But that is where I think we just can't lose sight of that as a community. Like, we can't lose sight that that's what cosplay really is. I think that if you want to take it sexy and sexualize it, go for it by all means. I think there's absolutely platforms for it. There's times and places for it, for sure. But is that what I'm here for? No. So I can't really judge too much of it. I can definitely say I think that it's definitely more embraced than it used to be in the community, which is wonderful. I think that it's also something that's becoming a little bit more accepted, kind of quote unquote tolerated by social media as well. You don't quite see as many accounts getting like hacked or banned as you used to in the past for showing that level of skin. And I think that it's going to continuously drive the evolution of what cosplay is. I think there might be at some point, you know, even another deviation or another like path of what cosplay could be. And, you know, where that goes, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not positive where I think the evolution is really going to take us.
I have a pretty good idea because I think it's already here. I really do. I have a pretty good idea where it's going to end up. And then there's a fork in the road that's coming, and it's there. And no, you cannot take the fork, but you can leave a spoon. You can leave a spoon, I promise. But I have a pretty good idea where it's going. So, but hey, look, I'm not going to stop it. I'm a libertarian.
There you go.
And I'm a free market guy, and
Yep.
I think the free market will solve it. I also think I know how it's going to solve it. I really do. But you know, I'm going to let it play out. Is my point.
Yeah. Well, I'm just excited to be here. You know, for me, my own personal gains out of all of this is just really honing my craftsmanship, right? I think that it's kind of stages for me. So definitely honing my craftsmanship. I've made a crap ton of friends that I don't think I ever would have made. I absolutely never would have made them. You know, I think that the other thing is it's definitely something that's a stress reliever for me. You know, I'm in such a chaotic, high tech, go world where I work 14, mostly 15 hours a day. I work on a global team, so I'm up at 6:30 in the morning working, and then I'm staying online until 7 or 8 at night, you know, working because that's just the dynamic that I'm in. I can't knock it because it funds my cosplay, but unfortunately, I think that it has definitely restricted me. That plus my health issues. Even out of like up until like a month ago, I was just kind of falling apart. And thankfully, I think that, but unfortunately, it's definitely put those stakes in my ground where I can't really take it to the next level as much as I would like to, unless I actually stepped away from something else. And unfortunately, I don't really have anything else to step away from in my life, unless it would be work. But it's just not one of those things where I'm confident to like make this my money maker, if you will. And on the other side of it, I also feel like there is an enormous amount of pressure to basically disrobe. And that's not something that I plan on doing in the past.
Also, you brought up a really good point. I was speaking with my guest before you, and we said this. And I'm a huge Grant Cardone fan. I like him.
Right.
My one criticism of him is that he says the 401k is a scam. The 401k is not a scam.
Oh, absolutely not.
I get why he's making that argument because he has a product that he doesn't want you to put your money into 401k. He wants you to put it into what he's doing. And look, you'll probably make some money with him, but whether you make all the money with him or not, that's up for debate. And he teaches some good stuff, but I would not put any money from my 401k to Grant Cardone. I would love to actively debate him on it on a stage. I think it'd be great. I think it would be fun for me. And oh man, I would destroy him. I would make the Jordan Belfort fight look like a freaking the preliminaries on a UFC bout. It'd be great. It'd be so much fun. But yeah, you brought up a really good point where I think a lot of people unfortunately want to chase the glory and they don't want to chase what works economically. And if that means you can't bring your cosplay to the next level, but you have a job, you have a paycheck, and you have a 401k, and when you hit 62, 65, you have a bunch of money in your 401k and you're living comfortably and you don't have to worry about money. I mean, you always have to worry about money, but there's a difference between worrying about, boy, do I want to go on vacation in August or should we go in September versus saying, oh my God, how are we going to make the rent this month? Those are two different worries about money completely.
For sure.
Think about, can we do this vacation this year or next year? Or are we going to be kicked out of our house or miss our payment, or how are we going to make our taxes? Those are two different worries. And that's what is so important that you just brought up.
Yeah.
Where, I hate to say it, but you could be the next cosplay superstar or you could fail miserably. It is a crapshoot by definition. There's a reason why I have a day job with this. I have a side business, and I'm not about to quit my day job anytime soon because I have healthcare, 401k, and it's a base cost. And that's what I think people don't understand is that a base cost allows you to do other options.
That's exactly it. Yep, you hit the nail right on the head, and that's exactly it. So, yeah, that's why I'm blessed, I'm lucky, I'm grateful, all that good stuff. Literally just landed my dream job about 3.5 weeks ago, and everything has been completely stellar. So, yeah, so that's gonna kind of, I mean, that's gonna be my focus for sure. Would love to monetize this stuff, but I just don't have the right time or bandwidth to be able to do it at this point. And that's okay, because again, everybody's doing their own thing. So, and with that too, I'm getting close to my bedtime because I get up at 5 every morning. I'm like, yeah.
I was gonna let you self promote yourself,
For
obviously.
sure.
Where could people find you,
Oh, yes.
you up on social media, all that?
Oh, yes. Lovely.
It's important. It's so important right now.
For sure. No, thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. So, yes, on social media, I am on Instagram. I am also on TikTok. My handles on both are fabulously.nerdy. If you enjoy really horrible dad jokes or cosplay transitions for that matter, by all means, definitely stop by my TikTok. And Instagram, I do try my best to post on there, a few times a week, especially like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, try to do a little theme to each one. So if you're around, definitely pop on by and hang out. We'll see where the next social media platform takes us to, especially if TikTok gets banned. So
it's not getting banned. That's ridiculous. That's not getting banned anytime soon.
I don't know though. Those here. So I actually worked at Facebook. There's a reason why I don't have a Facebook page, but I actually worked at Facebook during their conversion to Meta and all that good stuff. And
good times.
Yes, being actually part of like, hey, by the way, we need everything that's in your email, and I'm like, what? I'm just a contractor. I'm a consultant, man. They're like, yeah, I know, we need it all. That was really interesting. And seeing some of the same questions that they had asked Zuckerberg, that they asked of the CEO of TikTok, I was just like, I know where you're going, people. And I am kind of a nerd when it comes to data and security, just because of the work that I do and the work I've done in the past, which has been systems analyst and developing software and security around that. And it is a little scary with some of where they have your information, but I'm like, at this point, who doesn't? Okay.
I've read the terms of service on TikTok. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. It's legit crazy. It's so crazy. Like, you can't, even if you ask for like root files, they'll never give you the root files ever of any of your data ever. It's crazy. Weird.
Honestly, at this point, I know how to monetize data strokes and things of that nature. And that's what we should be focusing on. That's what we should be focusing on. I have a whole theory on this. I got a lot of shit in the comic community for AI art. I'm very pro AI art. I'm very pro AI. And people do not get it, and I get shit. And
Chat GPT, I will tell you, is like corporations are like, please go use this and write all of your emails using Chat GPT. Like, if you're not on the AI train, you will potentially get left behind, because even corporate America is migrating to that, and it is a steamroller.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna get interesting. I have a friend, and he teaches this stuff, and he just wrote a 3,000 word blog for 9 cents.
Okay. All right.
Now, I can go and take his blog, and I could write. It'll take me an hour, so I could probably write a better blog than he can on certain things, and the way I teach financial stuff.
Yeah,
whatever.
well, that's true.
I can destroy an AI pound for pound on certain things. But AI is not. AI is an assistant. It's not the future.
Yes, agree. Yes, no, it's not going to take over our jobs. It will only help us get better, but it will definitely not. And it's not going to become Terminator, because I've also worked on AGVs and autonomously guided vehicles. And no, that's not next either. Trust me.
I know how to deal with AI very, very efficiently. If you wanted to, it's a whole thing. I have so many. I'm in investor space, so I know so much. I digress. The amount of things that I know are coming. Oh boy, I love this space. But I'm also a big real estate REIT guy, because I love REITs.
Nice.
And I love non-reproducible assets like this. So guys, there's a reason why I play in certain spaces. But I digress. Obviously, you need to support people. You need to support cosplayers. And the way you do that is obviously following them on social media. If they have PayPal accounts, sending them money, helping them out, seeing them at cons, taking pictures, share out what they do. Engaging with them on social media goes a long way, guys. It goes a long way. You'd be surprised when people engage with me and they like a tweet of mine. It makes me feel good. I would imagine when somebody engages with you on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you're at, makes you feel pretty good too.
Heck yes.
And when somebody says, great cosplay, really enjoyed your cosplay, this is awesome, how'd you make it? They ask you a question, makes you feel good. And also when they follow you, they engage with you, they share out your stuff, all that stuff, it matters because it helps. It absolutely helps, and it makes a difference as far as social media and everything you push out there. So I recommend everybody do that. Absolutely. And it's free. It's free. Instagram's free, YouTube's free, Twitter's free, Facebook's free. All that stuff is free. And it's a huge difference. And it's just a click of a button, guys. It's a little hard on Instagram. It's not that hard. And so obviously, and you need to support them. You need to support people. And that's everything with that. And then as far as I'm concerned, I got a bunch of stuff going on. I got Buy Me a Coffee. I'm independent media. It's not necessary. But if you want to support me, I have that. And again, if you want media to continue and you want people to grow, you need to support independent media financially or even just liking it. I have social media. It's Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And if you engage with me there, liking my Twitter, following me on Instagram, liking a post of mine, subscribing on YouTube. It's Pop Anime Comics. It's free. It goes a long way when you subscribe on YouTube. It makes a huge difference to me. And also, if you watch it and you leave a comment, it makes a huge difference. And I can promise you one thing about my YouTube channel. You will not get smarter. You might, but you will be entertained. I can assure you, you will be entertained with the 600 plus interviews on my YouTube channel. There's an interview for you somewhere there. And you never know who's coming on. You never know who's coming on, when they're coming on, and why they're going to be there. So if you subscribe, you will never miss an interview live or on replay. And I also have my ad rates are up there. If you want to advertise on my show, anybody, they're up there. So definitely check that out. And that's pretty much everything I got. And I'm going to give you the final word.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure getting the chance to chat with you, Andrew. You're such a great person. And I'm so glad that we connected. I hope that if you ever get the chance to come out to Northern California, you definitely hit me up. Even after I move and buy my house and all that good stuff, I'll still be in the Bay Area. So yeah, I would love to have you come up, maybe even around Memorial Day. We always have Fanime, which is the biggest convention for anime in the area. And so I'd love to host you. And I am looking forward to continuing our friendship. So thank you so much for this.
Well, I'm going to take the compliment and I'm not going to trump that. I'm going to just quietly accept it. And that is perfect. And that